hectic weather which you are facing. In continuation of our series of interactions with our distinguished alums, this Saturday morning we have 4 very special guests. But to begin with, to whom we should say not as a guest, but someone who joining us from a far off distance, has taken some pain. And as he said, in a very humorous way, that life begins at exactly this time. For us, it is very early morning, so we are beginning our day. And as he said, it is midnight and he is beginning his day and night. So welcome, sir. And in this session, as we said, as we have been telling it in the past as well, you all are free to raise your questions and queries. Please write it into the chat box and chat functions. It would be good if you can write it directed to some of us, those who are the co-hosts. This morning we have our Dean Academics, Professor Sareen, Professor Biswas, Dean Special Projects, ARC Chairperson, Professor Poonam Garg, and other faculty members. So I welcome you all for this session. And to conduct the proceedings of this session, I invite our student anchor to take it over from me here and take the students a journey towards this beautiful interaction session in this morning. So yes, it's all set, and now floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Vinayak sir. Continuing with a series of introducing distinguished alumni to a fresh batch, today we have with us our esteemed alumni speaker, Mr. Abhijeet Ray. I welcome him, our faculty members, and the class of 23. A very good morning to all. Mr. Abhijeet Ray belongs to the third batch of IMT Ghaziabad, 1984. His early interest in marketing and within that, specialization in advertising made him engineer a career path that has been packed with enriching work experiences across 7 countries and diverse organizations. The jobs that he took up and the positions that he has held were always centered around the larger domain of marketing and communications, with a majority of the time being spent with large multinational advertising agencies in different markets outside India. This meant that he has the experience of navigating various organizational cultures, management styles, and market dynamics. Back in 2007, IMT noticed the trajectory Abhijeet sir was on, and he was the recipient of the Distinguished Alumni Award. Having worked in Asia for about 3 decades, sir and his wife Joita, who is a creative and advertising professional as well, decided to move to Canada, where he ventured into a new marketing niche, which is gradually growing into a major sector: multicultural marketing. Since 2013, he has also helped a couple of startup marketing consultancies scale up into full-service ad agencies. We asked sir to spare some time to speak to us about his journey. Part of our ask to him was to give a title to his talk, and being his creative self and giving nothing away, he decided to name it Parts Unknown. Today, sir is joining us all the way from Canada at the hour of midnight to address our fresh batch. We are truly privileged and grateful. Now it is time for sir to take over the session and untangle the mystery that is Parts Unknown. Over to you, Abhijeet sir.
Sir, you need to unmute. I think we are not able to hear you. Yeah.
That's part of the mystery of technology. It will come to bite you when you least expect it. Is my voice clear?
Yes, okay. Yes.
Perfect. So I am obviously very thankful to the alumni sort of community. Abhinav has been in touch with me, so has Noreen, and so have a few others. And I'm pretty grateful to them for remembering, I would say, a very old alumni, because I'm third batch. I think there are only a few of us who are active. In Hindi, there is an expression, very unfortunate expression, which is called Satya Jana. So we are all Satyas. And in the good old days, when you are a Satya, you are looking for retirement. The irony of life is that for many of us, careers are actually changing constantly. And I changed my career and my destiny even after the age of 50. And right now, maybe a few years later, I might change my career path again. Now, all of that sounds very dramatic, but the reality is, as Abhinav said, it's all within the realm of marketing and communication. So I think one of the core things we do choose very early in life is whether we want to be an HR person or a marketing person or a finance person, or do we want to be actually a generalist, right? So I think I picked marketing very early back in IMT, and what I wanted to do in the next 15 minutes is to try and give you a quick summary of my life experiences, and then maybe we'll leave 10-15 minutes towards the end for Q&A. That way, you'll have a flavor of some of the sort of experiences I've had, and if I can share some wisdom of all those experiences. Okay, so I'm quite mindful that after me, there are a series of 3 speakers who are much younger, who probably got a lot of gyan to give you guys and girls, but let me just make it very casual, and I'll just narrate my life experiences, obviously from a management perspective, but hopefully you'll also get some life lessons from that. So the reason I called it Parts Unknown, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the famous CNN series by chef Anthony Bourdain. Can you just raise your arms if you've seen that series? It's a master. He used to be a chef, and he used to travel through many countries and do a show for CNN. Anyone familiar with that? No one's familiar with it. Okay. You got to, at some point in your life, find that series and watch it. He was an amazing man. He was a cook. He was a chef, but he was going country to country and talking about the experiences he had in every country from the lens of the kitchen. But what he was really doing is talking to people and understanding the culture, understanding the politics, understanding how life really was, whether it's in Russia, whether it's in Thailand, or whether it's in Vietnam, or whether it's in sort of USA. That series was called Parts Unknown. And the reason it was called Parts Unknown is because every step he took, he was going into the unknown. He had no clue what to expect, and he was trying out new cuisines. He was himself a chef, so he would actually eat very strange food, learn it, celebrate it, and even sort of try and cook it himself. I mean, he was a great man. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years back. He was having so much fun that he couldn't bear it, and he took his own life. Yeah. I like to call it like that. I like to remember him as a person who was immensely talented. But I sometimes, in a very small way, feel I'm a bit of a master chef myself. I'm cooking up advertising campaigns wherever I go, whichever market I'm in. I've had the good fortune of working with a lot of big advertising agency firms. But in every market I've been, in every firm I've worked with, every clients I've met, every sort of brand managers, marketing managers, CEOs, CMOs I've worked with, it's always a new game. It's always a completely new environment. It's a parts unknown. You just have no clue. And then you kind of find your way through life, through every experience. So one of the first lessons I had was when I left IMT in the year 1984. So we had campus placements, right? So a little different from what you experience these days. We had very few people coming to the campus. We were a new institute. In fact, our batch was the first batch. When we were about to pass out, we got the recognition. The PGDBM was considered equivalent to the MBA. That was the year we got a recognition. But it takes a bit of time, right? And the only way an institute becomes famous is because of its alumni. So it's only when we get out in the industry and prove ourselves that people recognize, okay, this is an institute to reckon with. I'm talking a good 30, 35 years back. So you guys may be very surprised to hear that, because you know, IMT is now in the top 10 consistently. So it's not a big story for you to be counted as one of the top business schools. But when we were passing out, we had very few placements offers. I actually was one of the few fortunate ones to be placed. I shall not name the employer because it doesn't really matter, because I never really joined them. So I actually declined because I did not want to be in a cookie cutter job. Cookie cutter, I hope you all understand what that means. It's like you go in as a management trainee and you expect to do exactly the same thing as every other management trainee who came before you, right? And I was really scared that I will not fit the bill. I was a little bit of a misfit. So I wanted to be in a creative industry if I could. So I didn't have a job. So the first few weeks after I graduated, I was sitting at home looking at newspapers and looking at job columns, right? Looking for ads. It was very strange because here I was, a business student. Then I saw an ad from Diners Club International. I don't know if it still exists. Does it still exist as a company in India? You can just raise your hand if you've heard of Diners Club. Okay, it doesn't exist. So it was bought over by Citicorp. It used to be the country's only credit card. Actually, it wasn't a credit card; it was a debit card. But it was very, very. I'm talking about 80s, right? It was the only card. It was extremely premium, extremely like high status symbol. So I saw an ad, and they were having this Silver Jubilee anniversary, and they were just announcing lots of schemes, lots of dinners, lots of parties for the exclusive members. So I had a look at the bottom of the ad, and it gave the contact address of the local office, right? Just like you have dealers and stuff like that. So I just found the local Delhi office. I gave them a call, and I said, I noticed you guys are having a Silver Jubilee celebration. They said, yes, sir, how can we help you? They thought I was a member. I said, I want to speak to your CEO. And then the CEO sits in Bombay. She's not here, lady. I said, okay, I want to speak to the local head. They said, okay, yes, sir, definitely. How can I help you? What's the problem? Like, they thought I was going to complain because it's a service organization. I said, no problem. Just get somebody to call me. Long story short, within a month, I was sitting in front of the CEO in Mumbai interviewing, and I got the job of a management trainee. The point I'm trying to make is that one of the things in life you got to decide is whether you want to actually go into a cookie cutter job, or do you want to just carve out a path for yourself, right? So I'm not saying I'm a trailblazer or a maverick or anything like that. But since I never wanted to be in a sort of a 9-to-5 regular job, I just thought, let's do something interesting. And I found myself in Diners Club in Mumbai as a management trainee. So the next lesson I got was that since it was those days not owned by Citicorp, it was owned by a private. It was a private organization. It was owned by a company, a very, very wealthy Sindhi family, who are basically into many industries. A very diversified group. But here's another lesson. So few months into my job, I would say 6 months into my job, I was sent back to Delhi, which is where I'm from. So I'm basically a Delhi wala. So when I was back in Delhi, the boss called me and said, can you report to Taj Palace? Meet me in the lobby tomorrow morning. So my office was in Safdarjung Enclave. So I went over to Taj Palace next morning. The CEO was there. Actually, CEO and his wife joined. They both joined CEOs. And they said, Abhijeet, here's your key. They gave me keys to a fancy suite. You're going to stay here for 1 week. Our daughter is going to get married within a week. And you are in charge of all guest relations. So any guest that's coming, you got to make sure that they're going to be. So I was like scratching my head. Ye main kahan phas gaya? What the hell's going on? Why am I in a family wedding? Why am I even doing this? There was the biggest privilege that I could have ever thought that I could get. What he was doing, his guest list was 100 people flying in from at least 30, 40 countries. They were all CEOs of different diners club. Amazing place to network, amazing opportunity to actually meet with really senior folks from the business world. So yes, I took care of guest relations. I was completely, that's my first job. Imagine how nervous I was. But it gave me a lesson that, you know what, there are people out there who will trust you, who will believe in you. Even though you're just 6 months old in an organization, they will trust you. So you always carry a lot of responsibility. So when people actually give you a job or entrust you with anything, you're actually carrying their trust. And one should never forget that, because you should never let down people who have entrusted in you. It just sounds a little sort of airy-fairy, but the point is, if you really look into that job, what people expect of you, if you're unable to actually meet their expectations, you should not be doing that job. You should just bow off. I'll just quickly cut to another incident in life, much later, many years later. I guess I would talk about the time when I was thinking of moving to Canada. Okay, let me just talk about that. I was already 50, above 50. I just turned 50. And then people said, I was managing director of a research agency called TNS. It's part of a WPP group. Some of you may have heard of them. WPP is a very large, world's largest communication company. They own companies like J. Walter Thompson, Ogilvy, and Mather. So they also own research firms. TNS is a custom research company. So I was basically heading their Thailand office. And it's a cushy job, right? And I was heading a team of 250 people. And then one day I gave up everything and I migrated to Canada. For those of you, I think most people understand Hindi, but I will just tell you what my friends said. When they heard I was leaving, they said, "Tu pagal ho gaya. Tere sar pe bhoot abhi sawar hai. Tere ko koi idea nahi kya kar raha hai." Because I was chucking up a big corporate career and migrating at the age of 50. My daughter, older daughter, was about to go to university. And so I made the excuse, and she got into a university in Montreal, in Canada. So I made the excuse ki bhai beti ja rahi hai, hum bhi ja rahe hain saath. She's going to university, she needs a family there, hum bhi nikal rahe. It sounded like a joke, and everybody said this guy doesn't know what he's doing, because I landed here and I didn't have a job. It was very weird that after 35 years, you land up in a new country, new environment, and you have no job. The lesson that I learned at that point is that if you've already lived in 7 countries, this is yet another country. I think you got to just look at it. You shouldn't get nervous about new situations, new jobs, new bosses, new environments. And I think life teaches you quite a bit in terms of just being able to, as they say in English, roll with it. So you know what? Every day we wake up in an ad agency. So I'm back in an ad agency now. It's a very niche sector. It's called multicultural marketing. Believe it or not, there are almost 200,000 Indians turning up to Canada every year. So the landscape is changing. So they need people like me to do marketing, advertising campaigns, talking to the new immigrants. So whether it's Indians, Filipinos, Chinese, Arabs, etc. But the life lesson that I learned there was, you know what, you do feel a little nervous getting into new ventures, but you gotta just take a deep breath and dive in, because I think people recognize that somebody with an experience of just working with many people in many countries and many cultures, diverse, you do pick up a bit of a confidence in terms of being able to handle new challenges. I know I'm not being very specific. As I said in the beginning, I'll just be talking in general. I'm going to open it up for Q&A. Please feel free to fire any questions at me. Don't ask me any tech questions or throw any management jargons at me, because it wouldn't work. Anyway, go for it. Any questions for me?
So, good morning, Abhijeet. This is Dr. Amit Sareen here. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are, sir. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, welcome, and it's such a great thing. So interesting a talk. And this is the first. This is a fresh, set of students, new batch. They have a lot of hopes. And once they are interacting with the alumni, they get a very, very good feeling, that, such a diverse network of alumni. And one thing I like to comment is that on your last thing which you said is that, trying something new, having the confidence, because sometimes almost every time when you try to reach up, up the scale, whether in the corporate or in any other area, you are taking a leap of faith, and you are jumping, and you are having confidence in yourself. There are others who are having confidence in you, and you are going into the unknown in that sense, and that kind of daring you will require, because even if even if you don't want a cookie cutter in a corporate, there could be opportunities for new product development, new ventures, new areas, and in all those will require a leap of faith. And we have such a good example right in front of us who has made these jumps, So Abhijeet, these are my comments.
Yeah, no, I think very well said. I think you hit the nail on the head that people do get face to face with opportunities where you'd like to do something different. You'd like to be an entrepreneur, and it's not easy because the main thing that's lacking is just the confidence. Because without skills, it's difficult to go and convince an investor or having a business plan which is going to be incredibly different or be very successful. So I think that confidence does come through experience. In fact, I might just share one quick thing, Sahin Saab. So basically, I heard a talk sometime. I can't remember the speaker, but she said something very interesting. They said, you have to choose in life whether you want a job or you want a career. So it sounds like similar. A job will pay your bills. A job will pay your bills. It will build your skills a little bit and certainly build your resume. But a career is something that will serve your life purpose. And it's a very difficult concept to grasp. And I only grasp it because I've lived through it. The reason I'm in advertising is partly because I'm good for nothing else. But also the fact is, it is my passion. It's my calling. I know that I thrive in that environment. I love branding. I love brands. I like communication. So my purpose is to try and give brands a life, give purpose to brands so that they become purposeful. So it's my purpose in life is to help brands. So it's kind of difficult to imagine that when you're jumping from job to job. Jobs are one thing, career is another. So career is something you kind of get comfortable with, maybe I would say 10, 15 years into your job, into job hunting. You finally land on a sort of a space, then you basically build on that. Anyway, long-winded response to you, but yeah, I do wish everybody the very best. I think most people will go for jobs, but at some point, those of you who are brave enough will venture out and be entrepreneurs, and all strength to you. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. There have been a few questions in the chat,
Yeah,
but
it's in
I'll
the
probably
chat,
ask
is
a
it?
couple of them. I'll just ask them myself.
Yep.
So one of the questions is, what does one need to keep in mind while working with people of diverse culture? If there are any practical tips or advices for the student.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. In fact, if I ever find time, I'll write a book, and there'll be a chapter on that subject. Because having worked in about 7 countries, I've always had to deal with people from completely different cultures, whether it's the Thais or the Vietnamese or the Filipinos or Chinese or sort of even Indians, South Indians, North Indians, and now here in North America. How you deal with different culture is to first 1 month or 2 months, don't talk, just listen. Just listen and observe. The problem I think most of us Indians have is we go out there and start talking and thinking we know everything. I think you got to be very humble and just take it all in and understand, particularly if you're in a country like Indonesia or Vietnam, all that, they respect us. They know the Indian expat management is very, very strong, well educated. But what they don't like is being bossed around. No culture would like to be bossed around by an Indian expat manager. So I think it's good to just lie low, understand the culture, and especially if you're going to be leading a team, it's good to understand what they're all about, what makes them tip, what makes them motivated, and I think when they earn your trust, they will go all out and do anything for you. So it's just a human nature. I think the people would love to trust you and know that you are there for them and make them look good. You're not there to build your career. You're there to actually help them succeed in the. So I think it's a fundamental thing, right? It's a human psychology. You just got to make your subordinates feel like they can do anything. You're basically empowering people, right? That's what leadership is about, essentially. What was the next question? I'm sorry, I know we're out of time, but maybe I can take one more.
Yes, sure. So another question is that how has multicultural marketing been affected by COVID-19?
This is another interesting. That's going to be another chapter in my book, by the way, multicultural marketing. I'll tell you why it's interesting that it didn't get affected as much as mainstream marketing. The reason for that is that in a country like Canada, where 400,000 immigrants are coming every year, it's the engine of growth. It's the sort of the mantra for growth for any brand, because the white folks in Canada, there is a negative birth rate. It's not growing. So the only growth in consumer base is happening through immigrants. It's a very interesting phenomenon, by the way. And even through COVID, only for a few months, the immigration had stopped. But right now, with the flights opening up, everybody's coming back. To start with, there'll be at least 100,000 kids who will come for higher education, as you know. So multicultural marketing is a very agile business. It's very nimble and very agile, because it's all about being very opportunistic and being very prepared for the very next thing. So I'll give you one quick example. The Filipinos send a lot of money home, the expats, or rather I should say the diaspora. They send a lot of money back home because it's a poor country. So remittance, so fintech, right? Remittance, like world money transfer company, make a lot of transactions during the back to school period. Back to school is happening here. Back to school is happening back in Philippines and India. So a lot of people are sending money home, right? Through MoneyGram, Western Union, all of that. Multicultural segments dominate that. The 80-90% of market share. It's a $1 billion industry, by the way. $1 billion industry. In Canada alone, money being remitted outside. You can imagine the growth that sector is showing. So just an example of how powerful multicultural is. So we are the largest segment which is growing the banks in terms of customer base, telcos in terms of their customer base, CPG, which is FMCG, their customer base. So in short, I think I've come a little late. I should have come 10 years, 15 years back, earlier, so that I could have actually run my own company. Right now, I'm a consultant, so I don't have the courage to run my own show. So I like to be a consultant. Any other questions? Or are we out of time?
Sir, give me this opportunity to say something about what you just said. Dear friends, those who have actually have this privilege of listening him and through you experiencing that what a dynamism in life and choices can be. From someone who refused to start a career with a cookie cutter thing in the life, went on to explore, chose a trajectory which was very largely unknown to him in the beginning. I hope, sir, in this journey, from something being unknown, now it has moved to the domain of known to you. We are looking forward and we'll look forward to a book that you will be writing, and will request you actually embark on that journey sooner than later. That is an opportunity that I guess and will request you to take up and write it up, because many of us will be living in a world which will be very different than what it has been. From a globalized world to a more nationalized feeling kind of sentiments across the globe, and probably re-globalizing again into a very different way post-COVID thing. I'll request with honestly, sir, take up that and please write that while we can learn all from there. Learning cultures, building the trust, getting ready to learn at any point in time, and knowing the limits and knowing the strength of those limits within you is something which we all can learn and take away from this, sir. We are so thankful for you to give us the time. And as we are looking at your face, it looks like it is like the sunlight is directly facing your face, and here sunlight is there in the morning to us. So thank you, sir. And I'll request Professor Amit Sareen just to say a formal word of thanks to sir, and I will move to the next speaker, sir, then.
So on behalf of the students and the faculty and everyone, and of course the alumni also, I like to thank Mr. Abhijeet for coming, putting his time, and connecting with the alumni. And you know, something I always feel is that alumni, maybe I'll talk to the students later, but you know, alumni always has a connection, you know, and you don't need to know the people. Yeah, just because you are an alumni, you'll connect with them. You know, it's something I've been observing over the years and years. You know, and you know, there could be another alumni who would be another batch you would not know, but even if you get to know them, there's a connection, and that connection and soft corner is there, and that helps everyone. And you know, IMT has such a great alumni network, and alumni, anyone who's doing well is actually enriching the network. So, you know, that is there. So we have so many, you know, people who have done so well and so many unique things because it's such an old institution. And so it's a privilege today to have Mr. Abhijeet share with us all his thoughts. And we do look forward to your book.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I just want to end with one quick thing. There are I suspect there are over 300 alumni here in Canada. I personally know of 200 because they're all on my WhatsApp group. So I have been nominated to be a Sutradhar. So I will be leading the charge here. And I hope to connect with you all again. Through the alumni, if anyone wants to shoot me an email or whatever, have any questions, please feel free. Thank you so much.